Sales TV again here at Cranfield University, the Grenville Turner Studios. It's lovely to be here. Today's a little bit of a recap. So I'm joined by Alex and Adam, who you know are co-presenters. Alex, who is now in the Algarve. We don't know why. We're assuming it's all going to come out in the public and the press at some particular point. And Adam, who's
in the news soon.
Yeah, who's in kind of like Cambridgeshire. Is that right? Cambridgeshire? Or that
Suffolk.
Suffolk, sorry.
Close.
Leafy.
Yes.
And there we go. So, guys, what are we talking about today?
Ooh. Well, as you said, we're doing a recap, but I think one of the things I want to talk about today is a mini series that we spun off recently with Dr. Grant and sales transformation. I think sales transformation is a hugely misunderstood topic. For many sales leaders, it's really about coming up with a really good idea about a go-to-market strategy in this coming year and just kind of rolling it out, deploying it, and hoping everybody kind of follows. But for the most part, that just exacerbates the mental health endemic that we see in sales today. So I'll pause there. That's something I'd love to get into.
And I think we should, because it is very important. The whole idea about today, everybody out there, is that actually you've probably missed a bunch of stuff, which is the spin-offs that we've been doing, the different channels. So we're going to take you through a couple of visuals in a minute and show you what's going on, and then actually we'll put out onto the web page how you can engage in all of these assets that aren't going out live but are exceptionally valuable. So Adam, you and I are riffing around digital. So what are you and I doing that is important for people to start to understand and engage in?
Well, I think that the key thing for our conversations that we've been having is around people just rolling up their sleeves and having a go at digital. What I see and one of the frustrations I see in sales is that there's an awful lot of planning in the digital space about what we need to do. We're going to transform this, we're going to do this, we're going to add this, and actually very little people doing it. And I think that what's really interesting is that every human being has the skills they need to be successful in the digital space. Everybody understands quite naturally how to engage with others and how to build rapport and have conversations. And yet it seems that when we move from that more traditional face-to-face environment into a digital environment, people forget all of that stuff that they know to be true, and they write vacuous and spammy scripts which they insist on delivering, even though they see from their own results that they're simply not working.
Are we debating?
We love a good debate.
Because I don't think everybody does know how to have a meaningful conversation.
Right, so I would strongly disagree with that, and the reason I would is
fight.
Yeah, absolutely. Everybody has relationships. Their life partner, their friends, their family, and they are aware of the etiquette that we all have baked into us in those behaviors. When you meet somebody in a social environment where, a party or just a chance encounter at a coffee shop, and what you inevitably do is it's like a game of tennis, isn't it? I ask you something about yourself, you ask me something about myself. It goes backwards and forwards and we get to know one another. And it's that kind of dance that we go through that uncovers those things, those similarities that we have. Oh, you like whatever, squid. I like squid. You like Formula One. I hate Formula One. Whatever those similarities and juxtapositions are the basis on which you build a relationship. And yet we go into the digital space, and whether or not we're talking about an approach via a LinkedIn in-mail or an email, what I do is I say, Okay, I'd like to tell you a little bit about myself. I've got the best possible solution to these problems that I assume you have, even though I've not asked you any questions about them. And this is what you need to do.
Yeah.
And there's no context for me to believe a word that you're saying, or to even listen to what you say until those building blocks have been put in place. The kind of, hello, mate, that's a fantastic beard you've got there. Tell me about what beard oil you use. And although it in itself is not related to the sale directly, in as much as it's not about your product or service or my product or service, it absolutely is related to the sale, because it's about building that, in quotes, friendship, that relationship that we need in order for there to be any kind of belief.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. You know, salespeople, broad brush statement, but generally salespeople are being programmed to articulate a certain sales message, whether it's in email or on social media. But then that, you know, they get to the point where, you know, they've finally got a conversation with somebody, and they're still, you know, they're still programmed to have that sales conversation, quote unquote, as opposed to relationship building conversation, because of the way it's teed up. And that's, I think, the dichotomy we're in right now between what organizations want from their salespeople and what salespeople really want from their.
Yeah, but you know, you see this in your work, that that success, particularly with a complex, high value, strategic kind of sale, is absolutely based on how good a relationship you have with somebody. And yes, obviously, I need to understand that you work for a CRM vendor if that's your role, because you're trying to sell me a CRM system. And if I don't make that connection, you know, I'm going to buy potatoes from you, or whatever it may be, or try to buy potatoes from you. But I think the thing that salespeople and businesses, perhaps more importantly, always forget is that they're not the only vendor in whichever space it is. You know, you're not the only potato salesman in the world. And as a consequence of that, I have a lot of choice as the buyer. I can go to 15 different places, and in most instances, it actually doesn't matter who I buy from. And the reason I'm going to buy from you is not because you have these little product differentiators, because frankly, I don't care. And I'm not going to be using the full capacity of the product or service you have anyway. The reason I'm going to buy from you is because I like you, because I trust you, because when you say, mate, in my opinion, what you should do is buy A, B, and C, I think, well, he kind of has my best interests at heart. Yeah. And I think that so often those things that salespeople, you know, and this is not a criticism of salespeople, they've been doing this for hundreds of years. That's swept under the carpet, though, isn't it? You know, and it's like you need to make sure that you've got your use cases in place, and your brand messaging in place, and your USPs in place, and your you know, does this person fit your ICP?
Yes, but they are important.
I think that's really fascinating in terms of, though, and that leads us on to why are we doing Sales TV? Why did we start it almost a year ago now? Why did we come up with this idea? And it was about being able to discuss these things and find that super safe space that actually would grow with other people coming involved, facilitated by the great guys here at Cranfield, because this is a brilliant place to host it. But actually that safe space where we're not going to try and sell you something, because let's be honest, there is a plethora of stuff out there, which is the freemium bit for, you know what, come and buy my methodology, come and buy my book, come and buy my case study. Have I actually sold you the top 5 tips for smashing your number, crushing your number, and every other analogy about success of a salesperson at the defeat of or the loss of the customer, which actually doesn't help. And you know, that's why we set it up, isn't it?
Well, I think for me, I think being a sales leader can be a very lonely job, and you don't always have the education and the information available to you to make you know, truly informed, data-driven decisions. And so for me, I think Sales TV is a great opportunity for us to bring experts on, unlike ourselves, experts on to
Yeah.
actually talk about what's worked for them in their roles and help our audience take little bits of insight from each conversation, from each guest, and hopefully perform better in their day jobs.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. It's we've got a great comment here. I get sent loads of statements from salespeople about what they can do for me without knowing exactly what we do, and it usually ends with, "Is this subject that interests you?" 100% of the time, I reply no, and that's come in from Mark, and that's a great comment. I do think. And part of what we're trying to do here is also call out what I think is getting to be the existentially broken part of sales, and it's quite interesting because I don't know whether you guys have got it, but I've had 3 or 4 SaaS HR vendors reach out to me and go, "It must be really tough managing a company like Sales TV. We've got the ideal solution for you." So really?
Yeah.
So your homework then is the fact that we don't have actually any employees whatsoever. So the reality about it is that it's just a spam, and actually the technology has actually created an impersonality and spamming, which I think has actually diminished how sales are seen still more. Which again is one of the things we're trying to rectify with Sales TV.
Yeah.
But I think that though that we're seeing a lot of stuff. I mean that's just lazy. People haven't been bothered to glance in our direction before sending the email because they've been told we're their ICP or whatever. But we see that. I mean, I get just bouncing this back to the top of your inbox, or
Yeah.
just circling back round, following my, those 2 scripts, which I assume are standard scripts that you're supposed to modify in Outreach or one of these sales scheduling tools. And I think the problem is that salespeople, if you put them in a room with somebody, where there's a buffet and a large screen TV playing a sporting event, they're absolutely brilliant at making friends and forging relationships and building that platform. But what they haven't got is any clear guidance about how they use these tools. And I think that there's a degree of pressure being placed on them by their organizations, which makes them nervous about doing stuff.
Yeah.
People are vilified for making mistakes. If I put the wrong message in here, I'll be told off, rather than actually, if you put the wrong message in there and it doesn't work, it doesn't matter. You try a different message next time.
Yeah.
But I think that the challenge that we have is that these very tools that are supposed to make salespeople's lives easier, so here's a sample message you can send out to people, actually make their lives more difficult because they instantly alienate people. When I see something that says bouncing this back to the top of your inbox, I immediately set up a rule that says anything from this vendor or this domain gets sent to trash, because frankly I know exactly what I'm going to get.
Yeah.
Trash. Right, is it a good idea that we actually share with everybody the slides that we've got and just take them through a few things? So if we can show the slides, guys, that'd be great. So Sales TV, we've talked about fundamentally what we're trying to achieve in terms of being that super safe space where people can share views, hear about the latest trends, hear from practitioners, work in collaboration going forward with Cranfield and Cams TV and the ISP. We want this to be the global area where we learn from each other and develop best practices and challenge some of the challenges, challenge some of the issues that we think are coming down the line. And it's articulated here that a safe space to expose sales issues of today, tomorrow, and forever, with a wide range of experts. A little bit worrying. Somebody said, we're all experts. X is a has-been and Spurt is a drip under pressure. So we don't want those kind of people. We do want people who know what they're on about. And there's no agenda to sell. There's no top tips. There's no silver bullets. There's no agendas. Just great, honest mixes of people who have sales views to share. And that's what we're about. And if you want to come on to Sales TV, whether that be in the morning here in the UK and obviously the afternoon in Asia, or midday in the US, which is the evening for us over here, let us know, and we'll have a conversation about what we feel that you can do to add a stitch to this football kind of conversation. How do we make it better? So who've we got? We are no surprise kind of what template, what this looks like. But these are the people that we've got running our channels and running it so far as our hosts. So we have Helga, who is absolutely a force to be reckoned with, absolutely brilliant. You'll hear from her next week as she hosts. You've got Adam. I did ask the guys in the studio whether I was allowed to crack a joke about two spherical objects, but apparently I'm not because they can't beep it out, so we won't. You've got me there looking slightly suspicious to one side, and you've got obviously Alex, who's actually moved. He likes Helga so much he's actually moved to her country to stalk her more closely. And Rob, who kind of hosts us from the US. And what's happening now is as we expand out and more people come on to host, we're now starting to go into kind of several different channels. And so the first one is Dr. Dale Charles, lovely guy. He is sales and marketing, particularly in sports. He's based down at Bournemouth University. I met him a year ago. He and I are starting to record just a 10-minute podcast each week that starts to look at what sports can teach sales. We could go off down the Mbappe route of what happened last night. Great asset, great talent who kind of lost it, which I guess we'll come back to and talk about. How do sales cultures manage superstars, which can be sometimes very, very disruptive. So lots of different things that we'll be talking about from a sporting context. And it won't just be football, and we'll be bringing in some people from the US sports background as well, so that we get a great kind of sense clearly of what we can learn. I think salespeople have learned for a long, long time. If I want to do coaching, I'm going to go and read the All Blacks book or Sir Alex Ferguson's. It's a bit more complex than that, and we'll uncover that in a light-hearted way with Dr. Dale. Then Dr. Grant, as Alex was talking about, we are just about to film the 5th episode where we'll be talking around AI, and we're going to switch back to Alex in a minute to talk about which episodes. But Dr. Grant did his MSc in sales with Consalia and Middlesex University, and actually uncovered the world's first model about personal change. Now, I'm a massive fan of Dr. Grant. And the reason why is I've stood in front of thousands of people as an executive talking about we're going to go over there and do some stuff, we're going to change. And the reality about it is that 50% of them didn't want to. So if only that I had T-shirts on going no and the other half had had T-shirts going on yes, that'd have been a lot easier on my life. But Dr. Grant's uncovered that actually personal change is scary. And actually, how does personal change facilitate transformational change in sales? So we'll get an update from that in a minute from Alex, who's co-hosting with him. There we have good old Adam. And Adam and I have started to record some assets around digital and how actually you can run, firstly, digital engagement and programs within your company. The challenges about being digital versus being human, and actually where you are on the line. And we've written a paper about that, which will be coming out with the ISP and Sales TV and going onto each website. You talked about it a little bit more before the head of the show. And then lastly, but certainly not leastly, currently we have Dr. or Professor Javier Marcus from Cranfield University here, who's going to be starting to interview academics from around the world to rationalize the research that's already been undertaken, so that people get some real practical things that they can do now, but are actually backed by research and science and data. The challenge around anything in an academic setting, particularly in paper writing, is it normally takes so long that the sales leaders and the people who might be interested in it have actually gone by the time it gets delivered. So what we actually want to do is, here at Cranfield, go out to a wide range of academics from around the world and bring them in and do 25 minutes around what they've learned from their research and the actual practical, tangible things that practitioners can do. So those are some of the channels that we've got going on right now. So, Alex, if I can hand back to you, talk us through some of the episodes that you've been looking at around transformation with Dr. Grant.
Yeah, we've tried to take a really practical approach to this. So, if you think about sales transformation, what I was saying earlier about this kind of notion that it's misunderstood, if we look at the cost of quiet quitting to industry, it's $9 trillion, or it was $9 trillion in 2023. So this is, this term quiet quitting is when people are just not on board. They're not doing the tasks that they've been asked to do. And I'm sure we can all think about the time, to your point, Andy, where our sales leader has said, right, guys, this is the vision, this is the direction we're going onwards, and everyone's nodding their head, yes, we're on board, but actually, no, we're not on board, and that's a significant problem that is costing organizations a lot of money. So we looked at a mini series, 6 episodes, and as I say, we kind of took this very practical view. So we started off with what is and isn't sales transformation. So that was really Dr. Grant and I kicking the conversation off, framing the mini series, I think back on the 9th of April on Sales TV on one of these episodes. We then looked at where you're starting from, and so it's really important to understand, put a stake in the sand. Where are we actually starting from? And we had special guest Axel Ferry-Rolls, head of innovation and transformation at SAP, and that was a very insightful discussion. Episode 3 was what is leadership? And so I think, over the last few years, we've sort of met this inflection point of, transactional leader versus transformational leader. And certainly I know for myself, for many years, I aspired to be a transformational leader, something that was, far more difficult than being directive and telling people what to do, which I think a lot of sales leaders still do. They're hanging on to the things of the past, things that worked before, and just telling their team to do it. So we really, we looked at, what attributes make up a transformational leader, and we had Axel back on, and we also had John Nicholson, Managing Director of Royal Mail and Parcel Force. If you haven't seen that episode, I recommend having a look. John and Axel were great. Episode 4, we've just had episode 4 last week. This was about how do you create a culture for transformational change that sticks. And we had special guest Rainer Stern, who is one of the co-authors, along with Dr. Grant and 10 others, for the book Transformational Sales Leadership. And Rainer is the Global Vice President of Sales Acceleration and Leadership at SAP. Mm-hmm. And just listening to him talk about the awards that they've won for successful transformations, very large teams.
He's actually been in the Harvard Business Review. The Harvard Business Review did a case study on it.
Okay. What, of some of his work?
Of the transformational program that SAP ran, yeah.
Okay, nice. Perhaps we should share that in the comments with our listeners. And then we've got episode 5 coming up. We're still to confirm the date. It looks like it's going to be the first week of July, and we've got this guy that I'm hoping will appear as a special guest. I don't know if you know him, Andy. His name's Andrew Huff, chairman of the ISP. Apparently he knows a thing or two about AI in sales.
And he's devastatingly good looking as well, I hear. Yeah, losing a bit of weight, although the technical team here still haven't managed to get that shrinkage effect, a special effect yet. Come on, guys. What are you waiting for?
You've got to stop eating those pies, Andy.
Yeah, that is true. Biscuits, actually. Actually, I don't know whether you saw, you've got actually the option to get Richard Brooks and also Javier Marcus, who've been doing a lot of work here in the Cranfield AI series. So they're available to actually come on as well,
That would be
to
fantastic.
really look into what that will be. So I'd love to be on. I've got an article again that Sales TV and the ISP are going to release around that, where I share my views around effectively what we're doing in terms of our understanding of what AI is going to do in terms of having an impact on types of salespeople. So look out for that for me. But yeah, back to you, Alex. Yeah, you've got those options, so that'll be great. Dr. Grant and Dr. Javier, or Professor Javier, on there to kind of uncover that, bringing what they've been talking about at Cranfield here.
Yeah, that'd be great. And then we're going to finish off the mini series with episode 6. How do you know when you've transformed your sales team? And so we've got special guest Sakis Tassoudis, who's the author of Humanity Leadership, and which is a monthly publication. Also a managing director with one of the divisions within SAP. And so, how do you know when you've transformed, I think, is a really important topic, because I think for many it seems like this never-ending story of transformation, with one transformation bleeding into another. And so that we'll draw a line under the mini series, but we don't want to stop it there because it's such an important topic. So we're looking for guests, we're looking for co-hosts to help us continue the series, the thread, the track on sales transformation.
And Adam, we've put 2 of the digital episodes, which are a bit smaller, in the can. We'll be recording next week the next 4. So if you're out there, everybody, go to our webpage, go onto the LinkedIn page, and start to have a look at these assets. It isn't just about the live show; it's about so much more. And to echo what Adam and Alex have just been saying is, if you think you want to host a channel, if you want to be involved in Sales TV, wherever you are in the world, and you think you've got some genuine things to contribute, get in touch with us and let us know. We are constantly looking to increase our diversity, increase our age preference, work with partners. I think it's a great thing that actually Alex, your son Jordan's doing with the Emerging Professionals Network podcast, and all of the things that are going on there, which is about actually addressing the support that young salespeople really, really need these days. I'm very passionate about, I think people join the sales force, join organizations, and actually end up leaving their manager and going, I don't like sales at all. And I think we have to fix that. I think actually, bizarrely, those are the roles that are at risk from AI to a degree. But how do we actually take those people, using some of the mechanisms that are there for education around the world in degree level or post school, and help people get into an organization that cherishes them and will develop them as human beings for the rest of their sales career. Not just, and I think it's fair to say, guys, just treat them as a number and throw a load of tech at them and then shout at them when they haven't hit a bunch of metrics. Because that's not the future of sales, is it? The future of sales it's about humanity, it's about trust, it's about, as you say, Adam, those conversations. And AI can do a hell of a lot, but it is not going to replace the very nature. And I go back, Adam, to something you said to me getting on 2-3 years ago. The human race is the only race and part of the world that actually enjoys art and culture for its sake, and we'll never escape from that, because that's, I think, is intrinsic to us. So been great to do the recap, been absolutely fantastic. Thanks, guys, for allowing this. We'll get it out on every channel. We have a packed agenda for the rest of June and July. We're going to take some time off in August up to the September, and then we'll reignite on the 10th of September. But again, if you've got something to share, you want to be part of this journey with us, you want to help actually be the positive change for good, get in touch with us. But until then, have a great day, have a great week. If you're in the UK, enjoy the heat wave. Summer's here. Can't actually say how long it's going to. Well, Wimbledon's around the
5
corner, isn't
days.
it? So yeah, 5 days. Wimbledon starts next week, so we'll be over. Okay, so get out on your deck chairs, and thank you very much for everybody here at Cranfield and our co-hosts Adam and Alex. See you soon.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Bye all.